everybody. Welcome back to MJ Hurley Sports. Today we have probably the most controversial debate of all time in sports, and especially right now with the Last Dance documentary going on, we have the most controversial debate in sports. Who is the greatest NBA player of all time? Now, first, I would like to preface this saying I am not a Chicago Bulls fan. I am not a fan. I'm not a fanboy of LeBron James. And so I am very, in my opinion, unbiased on this topic. Um, I've been a fan of the Golden State Warriors since I was younger. That is not something that is going to bias me in this discussion. So even though I may be in the Chicago area, I go to school in Illinois, that is not something that is going to bias me in this discussion. So let's get that out of the way first. Now, the greatest of all time debate, or the GOAT debate, which is a lot shorter, so I'm going to say that for the rest of the video. So the GOAT debate. Normally, it is limited to Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Very rarely do we bring other players into the discussion, but today what I want to prove is that it is impossible to truly compare players from a different era, but most importantly, that we have a lot of GOATs in the NBA. We have a lot of players who are the greatest of all time at what they did. What I would rather do is pick a player from each position, or pick 5 players, a starting lineup that is the greatest of all time. And at the end of the video, I am going to do that. So first, let's talk about Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. One of the things that I've learned in college, very few things that I've truly learned in college, but one of the things I learned is in my sports ethics class, we talked about the difference between excellence and success. Excellence is something that can be achieved without winning. Excellence can be mastering your craft, being the best person, being the best teammate, being the best player on the court that you can be. Excellence is something that can be achieved without winning. Success is something that can only be achieved by winning. So, in the case of the NBA and in the case of basketball, success is truly only attained when you win championships. Now, let's talk about the biggest stat that gets thrown out with Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. Michael Jordan went to 6 NBA finals, as we all know, because of the Last Dance and all of that going on right now. Michael Jordan went to 6 NBA finals in 8 years. Those 2 years he didn't go to the NBA finals, one of which he was out for the entire year. The other one he came back in March. So those 2 years, most people don't really hold against him. So pretty much once he went to the NBA finals, pretty much he went for 6 straight years and won 6 straight times. LeBron James has gone to the NBA finals 9 times, and he has only won 3. He is 3-6. So first of all, let's get my opinion on that statistic out of the way. When we're measuring success, if you're talking about the greatest player of all time, I'll get to it in a little bit, how I think that's almost impossible to compare. But if we're talking about pure success, Michael Jordan is more successful than LeBron James. LeBron James has a lot of personal accolades. I cannot deny the kind of player that LeBron James is. And most importantly, I cannot deny the kind of player and the kind of person he is off of the court. He is a fantastic father. He is a fantastic person in his community. He has created a school in his hometown in Ohio that has sent, I believe, over 1,000 kids to college now, something along those lines. Don't quote me on the numbers. But he created an entire school dedicated for underprivileged kids in his hometown that wouldn't have been able to get a good education. Otherwise, he provided them with technology, backpacks, lunches, and food every single day. So off of the court, not only LeBron James, but also Michael Jordan are fantastic people. They've done a lot for their respective communities. Michael Jordan, now in the Charlotte community, has done a lot there. So neither of those men can be denied that. However, we are still talking about basketball. So on the court, the problem is it's very hard to compare the two players, right? LeBron James is just bigger than Michael Jordan was. LeBron James is 6'9", 200 and whatever pounds. I mean, I think he's around 280, something like that. LeBron is a very big guy. Michael Jordan, by nature, was much smaller. He was 6'5", 6'6". Yes, he was a shooting guard wing player, but he had a much different style of game than LeBron does right now, or than LeBron ever has. Michael Jordan also barely shot any three-pointers. I saw a chart recently that was looking at LeBron James and the shots that he takes compared to Michael Jordan. And roughly a third of the shots that LeBron takes are beyond the three-point arc. And Michael Jordan's chart barely showed any hot spots from outside of the arc. So Michael Jordan was able to average over 30 points a game in his career, not shooting three-pointers. Now, LeBron James has higher assist and higher rebound averages, I believe, throughout his entire throughout his entire career. However, I don't think that that inherently makes him a better player. That is a very large product of the team he played with, teams he has played with, a very large product of the system he played with. Michael Jordan, as we know from the Last Dance documentary, played the majority of his career under Phil Jackson in the triangle offense. That is not a offense that is going to have Michael Jordan run the ball at the court every time, and he is not going to either score or assist on every play, whereas LeBron James in a lot of the offenses he has been in, that's something he does. So that is the biggest difference, is not just the type of player that they are. They have much different style of play. Their jump shot is different. The way they play is different because of their size and just because of their mentality. But additionally, they ran different offenses, and so inherently their numbers are going to be different. However, if I had to pick between Michael Jordan or LeBron James, and I had to say which one of them is the better basketball player, if I were starting a franchise with one of them in their prime, who would I be taking? In terms of the success that I have seen, Michael Jordan played with Scottie Pippen, who, yes, was one of the top 5 NBA players at the time. I will be the first one to admit that. But LeBron James has played with help as well. He played with Dwayne Wade with the Heat in the early 2010s. Dwayne Wade was one of the top 5 NBA players of that time. You can't convince me otherwise. And LeBron has also played with Kyrie Irving, who was one of the top point guards in the time. And you could argue when he was in Cleveland was one of the top 5, probably top 10 players in the NBA. So LeBron has played with some help. Yes, we can give the argument he went up against the Warriors a bunch of times with not as much help as he should have had. He didn't have Kyrie Irving. He didn't have Kevin Love. He ran with Matthew Dellavedova, and he still gave it his best, and he still took down the Warriors as much as he could. Okay, that doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, championships are what matter. And so comparing Michael Jordan, LeBron James, I give that to Michael Jordan. Now, the entire point of this video for me, realistically, is to give my opinion, which is that I don't think the greatest of all time debate is realistic, and I kind of think it's stupid. So what I mean by that is if you compare not only position to position, so if we compare a wing player like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, to Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, their games are entirely different. Their statistics are different. The way they fit into offenses and defenses are different. Inherently, they play different brands of basketball. Same with Magic Johnson. Because he didn't really focus on jump shots, his statistics, his accolades are much different than other great point guards like Isaiah Thomas or Oscar Robinson. Their games are very different. Even Larry Bird, his game was extremely different from LeBron James. His game was extremely different from Michael Jordan. And so if we're talking about the greatest of all time, I don't think we can truly make a one-person definitive answer to the GOAT. I think it's impossible. And I love having the debate as much as anybody else. If I had to pick, yes, I would pick Michael Jordan, not just because of his stats, not just because of his ability to win, but because of how much better he made everybody else on the court. We talk about LeBron making people better in terms of the way he plays his game. With Michael Jordan, I'm talking about the way he practiced. I'm talking about the way he thought and the way he acted. After seeing the Last Dance documentary, this has kind of solidified this in my mind, that when you look at Michael Jordan, the way he drove people to be the best version of themselves, that is not something that has been seen rarely ever other than Kobe Bryant, who had the same killer mentality. Now, something also along those lines, I also need to point out that other players have their killer mentality. It's just different. LeBron James has a very detail-oriented killer mentality. Shaquille O'Neal had a "I'm going to dominate you" killer mentality that we see in Giannis Antetokounmpo now. So just because Michael Jordan had a very specific way that he went about his business and he went about his game doesn't mean it is the end-all be-all of that's how you need to act as a basketball player to win. I just think in terms of the way he was able to implement it, specifically with the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan is the GOAT in terms of the way he was able to create a winning environment. And that's what basketball is about. That's what sports are about. That's what you need in order to get success in a sport like the NBA. You need a winning mentality. You need a winning culture. Michael Jordan, greater than anyone in the history of basketball, has been able to do that. So now I'm going to give you my starting 5 if I were to pick the top 5 players of all time that I would want to play for me. If I'm running out a lineup right now, who am I going to run out? So let's get to that in a second. So here's my top 5 of all time put into a starting lineup. NBA players ever. Go. Number 1, point guard, I have Magic Johnson. I really don't think there's an argument that he's not the best point guard ever. In my opinion, it's indisputable. He's changed the way that the game was played. Not only did he change the way the game was played, but it has stayed around. Ben Simmons models his game after Magic Johnson. LeBron James, let's be honest. LeBron James models his game after Magic Johnson. LeBron is a 6'9" forward that also plays point guard a lot of the time in LA now. So LeBron modeled his game after Magic Johnson. He was revolutionary when it came to that position. Magic Johnson, best point guard of all time. Now, at the 2, at shooting guard, I have Michael Jordan. Honorable mention to Kobe Bryant. Um, I'm going to put players at their true position here. If I wanted to create a small ball lineup, I would be putting MJ at the 2, Kobe at the 3, LeBron at the 4, but I'm not going to do that. So honorable mention to Kobe. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. Obviously, Michael Jordan is better. Kobe Bryant was really close to being what Michael Jordan was. He won 5 championships, but he had more help than Michael Jordan did. I believe that Shaquille O'Neal was a better co-star to Kobe Bryant than Scottie Pippen was to Michael Jordan. Both of them worked very well. Don't get me wrong. And Kobe won without Shaq, but I do believe that Michael Jordan all around was a better player. I really don't think many people are going to disagree with that, but just in case you do, no disrespect to Kobe, he's fantastic. And if I was creating a positionless lineup, Kobe Bryant would be in there, no worries. Number 3, at the 3, small forward position, I have LeBron James. I do believe he's the greatest small forward of all time. Very close behind him is Larry Bird, but I do believe that LeBron James brings more overall to the team. He's a better rebounder. He's a better passer. His shooting is worse than Larry Bird, but he can get to the basket a lot better than Larry could. No doubt Larry Bird was fantastic at getting to the basket, and even though I may be young and this could influence my decisions a little bit, I do believe Larry Bird was good at getting to the basket. Just if I had to pick one, LeBron James would be the person I would want as my starting small forward. Larry Bird would come off the bench. He'd ignite that bench very well if I were creating an entire team. But for just one starting lineup, top 5 players of all time, top 5 GOATs of all time, if you will, LeBron James takes that torch. Now at the 4, I have Tim Duncan. I was debating, again, if this was a positionless lineup, I was debating whether I wanted to go like Twin Towers and have 2 of the Shaq, Wilt, Bill Russell, guys like that, Kareem. But I'm going to go with a true power forward, Tim Duncan, one of the greatest big men of all time, one of the most successful big men of all time. And since what I'm talking about today is how important success is to the legacy of a player, ultimately the goal of sports is to win championships. Every year you prepare to win a championship. Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich in San Antonio were able to do that extremely well. So best power forward of all time goes to Tim Duncan. Congratulations, Timmy. The player that I have as the best center is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Not only did he win 6 NBA championships, went to 19 All-Star games, won a couple MVPs of his own, but he has his own move. He has the skyhook. I mean, if you're talking about one of the best players of all time, you have to mention the guy who has his own patented move. Now, Dirk has his fadeaway, and I forgot, honorable mention to Dirk. He's my number 2 power forward of all time. I just had to pick Tim Duncan over him. Yes, Dirk did take down LeBron in the 2011 finals, but I do pick Tim Duncan over him. But for number 5, the center position, I am picking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was a winner. He was able to play in multiple different environments with Oscar Robinson. He played with Magic Johnson. Yeah, he played with two of the greatest point guards of all time, but he also had ridiculous statistics. He is just a stud. And in my opinion, it is extremely disrespectful to mention the GOAT debate without mentioning Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The leader in NBA history in points. He is a stud. He is one of the greatest stars the NBA has ever seen. He was a monster on the court. And if you look back at the tape, he was shooting a lot of threes before the three-pointer was a thing. And then once the three-point shot was a thing, he was in his older age. He didn't have the legs that he used to, and so he stopped shooting a lot of threes. But if you look back at the tape, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was shooting some three-point length shots back in his prime. And so I think it would be very interesting to see Kareem nowadays when he could actually space the floor. I think that would be fascinating. So that is kind of my opinion on the greatest of all time debate. If I had to pick a person, it would be Michael Jordan, but I think it's utterly ridiculous to try to pick one player out of 74 years of basketball history and say that one player is the greatest of all time when rules have changed so much. There didn't used to be 3-second violations. There didn't used to be the three-point shot. So in a time where basketball has changed so much, now to Steph Curry launching threes from downtown all day, every day, it is just a different game than it was even 20 years ago, even 30 years ago, when Michael Jordan and then young Kobe Bryant were dominating the NBA. So it is a much different game. It is impossible to compare players. If you want to come at me for saying you can't compare players, or want to come at me for saying Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time if I did have to pick one player, please feel free. That's what the comment section is for. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed talking about basketball. I enjoyed talking about all sports. That's what this YouTube channel is for. So go ahead in the comments, give me your best starting lineup for NBA history of all time. Keep it true. One true point guard, one true shooting guard, one true small forward, one true power forward, and one true center. Give me your lineups. Let me know what you think. I'll be back at you again tomorrow with a miscellaneous sports video. It's going to be good. You don't want to miss it. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.